As the Motivational Firewood Guy, Steve Gamlin blends back to basics positivity, visualization, and most importantly, humor, teaching his clients to see their desired outcome, understand their why, and build action plans to achieve them. He does this through his podcast hosting, as a keynote speaker, through his Ultimate Life Vision program, which I have to say, I think I saw the beta version of that. His one-on-one and group coaching. He is actually a add-on and a bonus to my private clients, because in the speaking world, we say, the more they laugh, the more money you make. So in addition to hosting his own Motivational Firewood podcast for nearly 2 decades, Steve has been a guest on more than 300 shows around the globe. So please help me welcome my dear friend, wonderful speaker, the guy that makes me laugh and literally oozes humor. Imagine what his brain looks like. Help me welcome Steve Gamlin.
Thank you, Laurie-Ann. I'm Laurie-Ann's older brother. I am only 10 days older than she is, so cut me in half, count the rings like a tree. What does a microphone do? It amplifies your voice so that more people can hear you. What does a podcast do? It amplifies who you are so more people can hear you and learn about you and know you and like you and love you and respect you. So you want to make sure you are putting the best version of yourself out there. We see all these influencers these days out there trying to shock and awe and trying to outdo themselves. And what happens to so many of these people when they cross the border of authenticity? They flame out. They fall apart. We see a lot of people out there who are causing a lot of damage, not only to the world, but to themselves as well. So it is my goal during our time together today to talk about the power of authenticity, talk about the power of motivation, your identity of who you really are. And we're going to have a couple of different topics and slides to share with you today. So think back to when you first started. We've got a whole bunch of different degrees of success and longevity here in the room. Does anybody know how many episodes the average podcast host will do before they quit and bail out forever? 0. Between 3 and 8 is, I've seen numerous studies. So if you have hit double digits, congratulations, you're successful. If you are over 10, you are successful. And every once in a while, because I am also on, we mentioned Podmatch as a resource, which is wonderful. I'm also on matchmaker.fm. I've been around so long, I got grandfathered in. I didn't have to pay for either one of these services for a long time until they caught on and they started charging me. Every once in a while, I'd go see a show, sounded like a good fit, and I'd go look at it. I'd look it up on iTunes and go, 4 episodes in 2018. They didn't get beyond those 8 episodes. So what I want to talk about are a couple of very important things. So if we could hit slide number 1, please. The first 2 words that I want to establish for us here and for everybody who's watching from Zoom, thank you all very much for being here as well. Get naked. That is a metaphor. I'm already getting applause over here. That is a metaphor. So everybody that's at home right now, turn your webcams back on. Thank you. I'm talking about, who are you really? And if you think of that great question, that great song that the legendary band The Who asked in 1978, who are you? Somebody always does the who. I love that. Who are you and what are you all about? Because the number one thing that I think every podcast host should be is authentic. You know, it's one thing to be out there playing a role or doing one thing, but when you are purely yourself, how you live, how you breathe, how you handle yourself. And I was having a great conversation during the break saying, look, I'm the same exact person on stage, off stage, backstage, standing out in the parking lot, or walking down the Captain Crunch aisle at the grocery store. Because I've had amazing conversations at every single one of those places. I'm also the same version of me when I'm on my podcast and when I'm on as a guest. In the last 10 days, I've been on 2 podcasts in Australia, and they were phenomenal. The only not phenomenal part was the time of day you have to actually wake up to be on a podcast in Australia. but just being yourself, letting your show be an extension of who you are. And we do have times where we have pod fade, where we start to wonder, is our identity exactly who we are anymore? Does this resonate with me? It's okay. You don't have to stay the same. We go through changes. We have our podcast teenage years. We have our podcast divorces. We have our podcast midlife crises. We have all these things. But what I encourage you to do is to get naked. Sit down with a pen and a paper, a notebook, a journal. I don't care if you burn the pages when you're done. Write down, who am I? Who do I want to help? Who do I want to communicate to? What is my target market? And another conversation I just had during the break, I use AI for research. Now, people are using it out there to fake a lot of stuff. It's tough to fake authenticity. I use it for research. I know who my target audience is. I use AI to tell AI, you are an experienced podcast host. Here are the topics you speak about. In this age group of my target audience, what are their top 10 challenges in life? What are their top 10 challenges in business if you have a business-related podcast, or related to travel? Where do these people like to do? What are the biggest challenges of travel in this year? The research you do and the research you get back could be your next 10 episodes. We rack our brains someday. We stare at that microphone and say, what am I going to talk about today? I don't know. And you get in there and you just stumble. I do research all the time. And going back to being authentic of who you are, who you want to help, the messages you want to share. What makes you an expert? Everything you survived, by the way. People ask me, hey, Steve, how do you make up those stories you share on stage? And I stare at them for a second and I tilt my head like a puppy and go, really? Have you not been paying attention to my life over the past 20 years? Do you not read my social media? Everything I do, I'm the same exact person in every single location. I encourage all of you to be that as well. It makes your life easier. It also builds your credibility. It builds your confidence. It creates momentum, and it helps you to keep moving forward. And then if you have guests on, I did for years, and I ran into the same challenges you were talking about. People that come in with their agenda. I get pitched all the time. Steve, we have this author who wants to come in and talk about their book. And I see their book. I go, I don't want to talk about their book. So no, I'm going to pass. It's just not a vibe of who I am. So knowing who you are, and even if you look at yourself in the mirror and say, look, I'm going to get naked right now, as a metaphor, I want to look at who I am. We've got a new year coming up. We're in the home stretch. Please start 2026 as authentically as you can. If you've lost your spark, rediscover your spark, even if it means changing the road a little bit. Adding something new, bringing in someone to help you out. Think of what inspires you in the world that you love to see the most, and you want to talk about that. As long as it aligns with your core values and everything that you're about, do it authentically, genuinely. The world will know the difference. We see enough influencers out there right now. We know what fake looks like and sounds like and feels like. Just don't be fake. So we can go to the next slide, please. I want to ask you if you are clicking. Now, anybody who lives around southern New Hampshire may know where this roller coaster is. Canby Lake Park, the Yankee Cannonball. It's about 1,000 years old, I believe. Not sure. It was here when I got here, so yeah. Now, at the lowest point of my life, shortly before I met Laurie-Ann, when I was just about to become a speaker, I rode this roller coaster. And I sat there in the second row of the front car just as we started moving. I took a picture of the top of that first hill, and I had no idea why. This has become one of the most recalled and mentioned stories that I share on stage. See, too many people are on a merry-go-round in their life. They're going round and round and round and round and round in the same pattern every day, and there's nothing wrong with it. But they're not actually gaining any ground. They're not getting anywhere. Now, this happens to podcast hosts who go, oh, geez, I got to get an episode out. I do 2 episodes a week. I got to go. But I'm frustrated. I'm not getting anywhere, but I got to get the show out. And they're just going through the motion every single week, and there's nothing special about it. They don't love it anymore. They're not challenged by it. Sure, the music's fun and the horses are cute, but you're not getting anywhere. If this is you, I highly recommend you start thinking about this next year as a roller coaster. Now, you're going to get in at the parking lot level. That's where everybody has to start. And don't listen to people that say you got to have a $4,000 camera or an $800 microphone, or you have to take out a home equity loan to build a recording studio that would make Taylor Swift jealous. My first recording setup was in my living room. My first wife and I had a little in-law apartment in the living room, a single mic stand with a $39 microphone from Radio Shack and a cardboard box duct taped to it. And it sounded like crap. It sounded like I was talking in a phone booth with traffic going by. And me and two friends of mine recorded radio comedy bits that we sold to a certain company. And on that crappy microphone for a couple of hours a week in my living room, we made $6,000 in 6 months because we loved what we did. We brought the energy to it. And this company in LA thought we had a unique sound. I'm like, yeah, here's your unique sound. MacGyver in his living room with a $39 microphone. Your microphone amplifies who you are and what you do. That's it. Be yourself. Be your best self. Stumble on the words. Don't edit out the ums and the ahs. Don't edit out your breaths. Don't pitch your voice up. Just be yourself. I learned that in the radio industry. Two hosts this week said, you have an amazing voice for radio. I said, number one, thank you. Number two, wish the hell I had this voice when I was in radio because I didn't. I was on the radio, part of rock morning shows for 10 years and was afraid to use my voice for the first 8 and only did because I had to. I had 5 days to prove my worth. The first 4 days, every break I did my voice a little different to try to sound like a DJ. On the 5th morning at 5 minutes of 7, I just went, New Hampshire's Big 101.5 Classic Rock. Hey, everybody, Steve here. You know, I may stink as a DJ, but if you tolerate me reading the weather for the next 42 seconds, I'll play you a butt-kicking rock song. Did the weather, hit the song. My boss knocked on the door, came in. He goes, oh, my God, that was the funniest thing you said all week. Dude, just be yourself. Changed my life forever, being authentic. So ask yourself as you're working on your podcast, am I clicking? You don't start. People say, I'm going to do a podcast and go viral. That doesn't happen. Everybody has their first episode, and their first episode happens before that roller coaster even leaves the parking lot level. But every day you got to show up and you got to go click. Another episode. Click. Another guest. Click. Another piece of music. Click. This. Click. That. Click. All right, now I got somebody who can edit clips without getting swamped down for promotional. Click, click, click. Got a system for this. Click. Got a new headshot. Click. All these things because you have got to put in every single click to get to the top of that first hill. When you achieve that, whatever that is for you, and you've done all the work, and you've been authentic, and every once in a while you look over your shoulder and realize just how far you have come. You listen back to your first episodes, and you cringe. Do not delete those episodes, by the way. Up until about 15 years ago, I had the worst self-talk you can imagine for a motivational speaker. And I would listen back to my old episodes, and I would want to reach for that delete button. And then I flipped it a little bit. Now when I listen back to my early stuff, I go, oh, my God, that's adorable. Listen to me. It's like if you could put macaroni and glitter around the edge of that podcast, my mom would hang it on her fridge. So acknowledge your journey. We all started somewhere. We all had the fest. Just keep going and keep growing and keep showing up and keep redefining who you are and what you do and how you do this and what you love most about it. And if you're struggling, get on a podcast and say, hey, I'm struggling. I've done those. But just keep going. Keep on clicking. And if you have to, look in the mirror right after you do a podcast episode and just look at yourself and say, click. My vision board clients have a hashtag that we use. It is how we celebrate each other. And it's almost like sending out the bat signal to me. I get tagged on social media. Hey, Steve Gamlin, hashtag click, baby, click. And I get into instant message and I go, talk to me. What'd you do? And then I'll ask them, can I share this? They'll have this amazing, even the smallest breakthrough. And I'll say, can I share that? And they'll say, yeah. Like, can you hop on a Zoom room right now? Yeah. Oh, good. Here's the link. Let's record this. And I get to share a video of what they just did. And then all the people pile in the comments going, how'd you know I needed that today? My answer is always the same. I needed it. So I shared it. And I'm just laying myself out there every single time I get on a microphone. This is me. This is what I'm celebrating. I love that you have the wins and the rut rows. I had a rut row moment on a podcast as a guest early on. It was through the internet, but it was audio only. And she was up in the Pacific Northwest. And she asked me a question, and I answered it. And when I answered it, I was done. I said, so that was pretty much the lesson I learned there. And I listened, she's not there. So I kept talking. And at the end of that one, she came back and she goes, great, here's another question. I tell that story. She's not there. It was a 60-minute show. I talked 52 minutes of that hour. And at the end, she says goodbye, and I just hung up. I'm like, she is going to ream me out. She's going to scream at me. She's not going to air the episode. I was just being authentic. As a former morning show producer, dead air is a nightmare. I kept going. So I hung up. 10 minutes later, I felt so guilty, I wanted to call and let her off the hook. Hey, if you don't want to air my show, it's okay. I get it. So I called, and she picks up. I go, hi, this is Steve. I'm really sorry. And she goes, for what? I said, I monopolized your whole show. I pirated the whole episode. She goes, you have no idea what happened, did you? My internet failed like 12 times. Thank God you kept talking. I could reach out to her now and say, this is Steve Gamlin. And she'll go, I remember that. She actually asked me to be your co-host of that show. I wasn't able to do it, but be yourself. And you're out there trying to make the world a better place. And if you get overwhelmed by that, just imagine when you're doing your show, even if you're a show veteran. I mean, we need to be reminded of these things. You're talking to one person. You've got one person you're connecting eyeballs with and hearts with. They've got a challenge and you have a solution, and you are sharing it with one person. Just a whole bunch of other people. We talk about having just conversation. I always tell people, I said, look, we're just sitting on the porch having a conversation, and a whole bunch of people hanging out in the front yard just digging what we're talking about. That's what we do as podcasters. That's what I do. If you can go to the final slide, please. What is your vision for your podcast for next year? And I ask people, what's your vision for your podcast? 1 million downloads. How many episodes have you done? 3. I'm like, okay, it's a good vision to have. Let's talk about 1 year. In this 1 year, what is your vision for your podcast? And this is work I do with my vision board clients as well. And I'll ask you this. What does your podcast look like, feel like, sound like, smell like, taste like? What vibe do you want your listeners to get? Are you a trusted friend? Are you an expert? Are you a person who cares? You're a person like me. All the stuff I talk about is stuff I've survived. One of my keynote stories is called Some Days Your Phoenix Rides a Pogo Stick. Meaning my tail feathers, I've been smooth as a baby's bottom, and I've had beautiful feathers that help me to fly. It doesn't matter. What is your vision? By the end of next year, what do you want your podcast to look like, feel like, sound like, smell like, taste like? What is the vibe that you want to create with your podcast? Who do you want to help? What are their biggest pains? Who do you need to become? It's a big thing with all my goals. It's not just what you get, it's who you become. That's why I always laugh when people say, I want 1 million downloads. I'm like, well, what are you going to talk about? I don't care. I just want 1 million downloads. It's the same as when people say, Steve, I got a picture of my new vision board. And I say, all right, send it over. It's a picture of a Lamborghini, a yacht, private jet, a mansion, a helicopter, big honking gold watch, and a bank vault full of gold bars and pallets of cash. Like, that's a lovely letter to Santa Claus. Who do you want to become? Who do you want to be? As a podcast host or a team or whatever it is, who do you want to be for the world? What do you want to be known for? And what is the way to get the purest version of you out there? What is your vision for that? It may radically change. And just because, I've talked to people that said, I've done 500 episodes. I can't change now. I don't care if you've done 5. You can change. Don't think you're locked into it. You are the captain of this ship. And if you're seeing that iceberg and it's getting closer and closer and you don't know what to do about it, steer around it and figure out what your vision is for your podcast. It's yours. There are no rules. It's the Wild West. You can start a podcast anytime you want about anything you want to talk about. So why wouldn't it be the purest version of you? And we were talking during the break. Sometimes people get stuck. What do I want to talk about in my podcast? You know where my podcasts come from? My Facebook posts. I take one and I expand upon it and it becomes a podcast. I got an offer a number of years ago from a guy in England who said, Hey, Steve, I don't know if you remember me. This was the fall of 2019. He said, I reached out to you in 2014. I had heard your podcast and I wanted to have you on my radio show here in England. I said, oh, I remember you. He said, great. Do you remember what my goal was at that time? And his name was also Steve. I go, Steve, dude, I can't remember what I had for lunch yesterday. And you're asking me about a conversation 5 years ago. He says, I want to start a radio station, streaming station, dedicated to, and I went, positivity. He said, yeah, you're the first American we're inviting. You're the only American we've invited. Would you like to have your own show? We launch in January of 2020. So for 5 years, I gave 3 episodes per week. Here's the episodes: a 5-minute, a 5-minute, a 3-minute, and a 1-minute. I tried so hard to make each one so perfect. I was spending 6 hours for free every week to do those little things. And one day I said, Steve, do they have to be at that exact time? He goes, oh, no, not at all. Within 2 weeks, I was doing 90 minutes a week, banging out 3 episodes. 8, 12, 4, and 3. You don't have to be perfect, and there are no rules. Be yourself. Bring your best self into everything that you do. It's an extension of who you are. And if you have to sit back sometimes and go somewhere quiet and just unplug and figure out, who am I really now? Am I different from the day I started? Is my audience different? Do I have guests? Do I want to have guests? I highly recommend places like Podmatch, and Matchmaker.fm is another one that I use. My wife once heard me. I said, oh, I got to pay my dues for Matchmaker. And she went, what? Hello? I said, no, it's a podcast thing. She goes, for singles? I'm like, no, it's just a podcast service. I had to show her the invoice, and I was off the hook. But be your best self. Know what your goals are for your podcast. If you have a certain amount of shows you want to do next year, if you have a guest you want to go after. I have met the most amazing people, and I've actually had people offer me business opportunities. I've been hired. I've been a guest. Laurie-Ann introduced me, recommended me for one a month ago. I not only went on that show, that host led me to another host, to one of the 2 that I recently did in Australia. In this past week, it was a grief-related podcast. Lost my wife almost a year ago. And I reached back to that host and said, hey, I got a friend of mine who lost her husband in her early 30s. Would you like to interview her? She has an amazing story. And they both said, absolutely yes. And that person is Laurie-Ann, who introduced me today. So our families grow. This organization is amazing. Our families grow. We cheer each other on. We pick each other up sometimes. We have to. And whenever somebody asks, how did you know I needed to hear that message today? Just know that you're doing the right thing. And keep doing that. And if you have a chance to ask them, say, what exactly about it helped you? And they tell you, rinse and repeat. Do that again and help even more people. So thank you all for being here today. For everybody in the Zoom room, thank you as well. And to Andy and Laurie-Ann, thank you very much. Hey there, New England podcaster. Steve Gamlin here with a quick video message. First off, to say thank you. Thank you to Andy for bringing me in, to Laurie-Ann for recommending me to Andy, and to each and every one of you, whether you're in the room physically or there virtually as part of the Zoom room. I appreciate every ounce of energy that was headed my way. And a quick reminder about that life wheel, and I've sent Andy the file to share with each and every one of you. Make sure as you're setting your goals, you are addressing every single area of your life. And also, what does your podcast do for you in any one or multiple of those areas? And then I want you to think about your target audience. How do you want to impact their lives? What value do you want to bring? What parts of the life wheel do you hope to impact for them? It's a really good way to stay focused on your why and stay connected in your heart to what you are doing. Keep on clicking up that first hill of the roller coaster. For me anyway, it's a lot more fun than that merry-go-round. So keep on clicking, my friends. Rock on.